Okay.
Yeah.
So hello, everybody. On behalf of Cuesta College, I would like to thank you for coming and celebrating Hispanic Heritage Month with us and coming to this event today. I'm happy to present Luis Aguirre. Luis was born in Guanajuato, Mexico. He is the son of seasonal migrant workers, and he came to the United States with them several times throughout his childhood. He and his family finally settled in San Luis Obispo when he was around 16 years of age. He went to Slope High, Cuesta College, and Cal Poly, where he got his bachelor's and his master's degrees in mechanical engineering. He has 25 plus years of working as a mechanical engineer in multiple aerospace companies. He is currently working as a principal analyst at SpaceX. And I just want to let you guys know, if you guys have any questions for him, if you could please send them to Ali or I, and then Luis is going to answer them after the presentation. Okay, so without further ado, please help me welcome Luis by giving him a virtual applause.
Thanks.
It's the new way. So yeah, let me go ahead and share the presentation.
Thanks, Ali. So as Maria is doing, or Ali is doing that, by the way, she's my sister. So I want to welcome you guys also to the event. Thank you for having me, and thank you for spending some time with me. Just a little bit of background. Alejandra, my sister, has been asking me to basically give a presentation for the past probably 5 or 6 years. And because I was too busy with life or too busy with work, I always kind of say, well, maybe next year, maybe next year. And you know, my life is a little less hectic. My beautiful twins are 5 years old now, and so they don't ask for too much demands from me nowadays. Work is still a little hectic, but my life, I guess, is a little more in an equilibrium point. So I told her, yes, let's do it this year. I think I've been postponing for too long, and being able to give back what other people have given to me, I thought it was a good thing to do at this point of my career and my life as well. And with that in mind, I start thinking about what I wanted to talk, and while thinking about what I wanted to talk, and knowing that everyone is very excited about SpaceX, I thought about perhaps talking about SpaceX will be a good thing to talk. But then I wanted to put myself in where you are right now. You know, some of you guys are in high school, some of you guys are in college, some of you guys are actually in Cal Poly. So if I was at that stage of my life, what would I like for someone who was presenting how they got to where they are right now? What things would I like for them to answer? And so I put myself back into those years when I was a student, and I thought about it. And while discussing SpaceX is a wonderful thing, and perhaps we'll have another event in which I might be able to discuss that with you. I wanted to discuss basically the lessons learned, and some of the lessons learned that I got through my career that have helped me to be the person I am. And just using the quote that is shown in front of you, basically, the difference between school and life is a school you are taught a lesson and given a test. In life, you are given a test that teaches you a lesson. Once you graduate and you start your career, you're gonna see them. That's so true, that the lessons in life are not necessarily in any book or anything. Basically, those lessons in life, you get them from people who have gone through them and have experienced those lessons, and hopefully they are trying to help you, so then you don't have to relearn it yourself. So I put together the things that I thought had worked for me, the fighting that I think had worked for me, and that's what I really want to talk to you about today. And hopefully I will tie all this together. But before I do that, I want you guys to think about this. You know what? what a cherry tomato and a rocket engine have in common? It sounds almost like a joke, but I will tell you at the end of the presentation. I'll tie everything in. But as Ali was telling you guys, I came to this country when I was 16 years old. I didn't speak any English whatsoever. The only English I kind of knew was what I got in secondary school, and it was not really practical English because we didn't have anyone to practice. We would just learn phrases and things like that, but no one to practice with. So my English was very limited when I came to this country. So um, one of the first things I ended up doing when we came back, I still remember it was actually 4 July 1984 when I came to this country to live permanently and to move up and basically to either start working or educate myself. And my first job in when I came that summer was to actually work with my parents in the field, and I worked on side by side with them, and that was the first time I actually earned a paycheck. So I was 16 years old, and I worked all that summer with them. Uh, that's when it makes me realize that being a field worker, it was very hard work. It was honest work, but definitely was hard work. And my father, at the end of the summer, basically told me, "You have two choices. You could always come and work as a field worker, or you can educate yourself and do something better that will provide flexibility in your life and will allow you to have a better life than the one we have." So education always was something my father saw as something that he wanted to give all his kids and give the flexibility that he and my mother never had. So other things that other jobs that I actually held while I was going in San Luis High and in Cuesta College and Cal Poly, I worked. The restaurant is still there. It's Apple Farm. I actually was a dishwasher in Apple Farm, and then I also work as a dishwasher, a pre-cook, and a cook in tortilla flats. They're no longer there anymore, but that was a Mexican restaurant by the creamery, and I worked there when I was working in. I was going in Cuesta College and Cal Poly. So those were, my jobs. So I moved very quickly out of working on the fields to working as a dishwasher and as a cook as well. So all other positions that I held, of course, once I was in college, I used to be a tutor, and I used to actually work in the financial aid office in Cuesta College. So that was part of my jobs. So I have held a gamma of different jobs since I got to this country, all the way from a field worker to right now working as a SpaceX, building rocket engines, working in rocket engines. I mean, it's been a tremendous journey for me and a very rewarding journey for me. And as I mentioned before at the beginning of the presentation, what I want to give to you today is some of the lessons learned that I got and how they were applicable to me. And I will try to tie some of those lessons learned by giving you some passages of my life, and they're not going to be in chronological order. Sometimes I'll be talking about Cal Poly, sometimes I'll be talking about Cuesta, sometimes I will be talking about another job that I had. But I try to put all the lessons learned in a chronological way to make sure that we could understand the things that I believe you need to take a look at it, and hopefully these lessons learned will be able to guide you in your journey of being a student, and hopefully it will guide you in your journey of being a professional once you get into start working in the career that you have. So the first lesson learned, and it took me a while to really realize this lesson learned, but it's very important, is pick a career that makes you happy. It seems very simple, because most of us think about it and say, oh, I know exactly what I want to do. I know exactly what I like. But the reality is that for a lot of us, overall, if your parents never had the chance to get an education, um, we think what we want, but it's not necessarily always what you think it is. So just to mention some things, initially I wanted to be an architect, then I switched to perhaps I want to be a civil engineer, and then I kept just thinking about different things. So when I was through going through Cuesta, I realized that I wanted to do engineering, but I didn't know what type of engineering I wanted to do, and so somehow I was trying to figure out what type of engineer what type of engineer I wanted to be. So one of the talking points about picking a career that makes you happy is that while the road ahead may not be easy, the journey will be rewarding. And when I said the journey will be rewarding, is because you'll be doing something that you really like. And the sooner you figure that out, which sometimes, as I say, is not easy, the sooner you're going to see the rewards coming your way, as far as even being a better student. Um, so the second point that I have for this particular lesson learned is don't be afraid to change course. And I can give you a period of my life when I needed to make a decision about changing course. So when I got out of Cal Poly, I was accepted as an industrial engineer. So it was engineering, it was something that I wanted to do. And the reason I ended up becoming an industrial engineer was because a friend of the family was an industrial engineer going to Cal Poly too. And just talking with him, it seems like a good choice to go with. And so when I got at Cal Poly, that's what I ended up starting as an industrial engineer. One thing I quickly found out is that I found it hard, and I'll discuss a little bit more about why I found it hard. But while I was making the grade, I was never, in my opinion, I was never good enough to really say this is what I want to do. One of the things that once you're in Cal Poly that you need to do is that most of the engineering departments, regardless of who you are, mechanical engineer, industrial engineer, aeronautical engineer, materials engineer, is there's a lot of classes that are common, basically, and a lot of classes that are engineering that you need to take, and some of these classes are electrical engineering classes, and some of those classes are mechanical engineering classes. In my case, is when I took start taking the mechanical engineer classes, I realized that that was my calling, really. Then the mechanical engineer classes interest me more than the industrial engineer. Not to say that industrial engineer wasn't good, it was just not my calling, but I needed to make a choice. Uh, by the time that I started taking my mechanical engineer classes, I was already 3 years into my major as an industrial engineer. So switching to a mechanical engineer basically will mean that 1 year, I had one more year to graduate as an industrial engineer. I will have to possibly start and spend another 2 to 3 years in Cal Poly, but it was a decision that I needed to make. And someone very close to me, basically, as I was pondering what I needed to do, gave me this advice: you will spend a third of the rest of your life working. So if you don't pick something that you really like, you probably will never excel in what you're doing, and probably perhaps you even going to be never satisfied with what you're doing. So while it meant that I probably, if I switch majors, I probably was going to take another 2 years before I graduated the Cal Poly, minimum 2 years. Um, uh, but if you start thinking about a lifetime working on something that possibly is not as rewarding, or working on something else, at that point, I think I made my mind, and it was an easy choice. I just decided to go to the industrial engineer department, to the mechanical engineer department, and basically asked them. Then I wanted to switch to mechanical engineer. When I got there, the chair of the department basically looked at me and told me, I hear about mechanical engineers switching to industrial engineers. I never hear about an industrial engineer that switch to mechanical engineer. And I told them that I understood that, but then I believe that mechanical engineer was my calling. So instead of just accepting the fact that that's what I thought, mechanical engineer was my calling, he told me, I need you to take 4 classes in mechanical engineer. You just have to take 1 or 2. I need you to take another 4 classes. If you do good and you get at least a B average in each one of those classes, then I'll let you into the mechanical engineer department. So here is another challenge, really. I'm going to start. I haven't even been accepted in the mechanical engineering department, and I'm already going to spend at least 1 or 2 quarters basically taking courses that I was told that I need to take in order to be accepted in the mechanical engineering department. That it was not required in the industrial engineering department. So I took a gamble. I did take those courses, and I ended up getting B's and A's in all those courses. So I came back to the chair of the department and say, here it is. I think I fulfilled the requirement that you asked. And he said, you must really want it. So yes, we will accept you in the mechanical engineering department. And from there on, here I am, 25, 30 years after that. I made the right decision at that point. So don't be afraid to change courses if that's what you think you have. Think about that for the rest of your life. That's what you're going to be working on. And if it's not something that satisfies you, it's better to switch course and to try to do something that you're going to like, whatever that is, really. I mean, you might figure out that possibly engineer is not what you want to do. But just one more comment. When I said the road ahead may not be easy, the fact that you are picking up something that you think is more rewarding to you doesn't mean that it's going to be easy. It's still like a good athlete. You're still going to need to work on it and work on it and work on it, and just continue pushing until you get to the point that basically you graduated. So just because you pick something that you like doesn't mean that it's going to be easy. But if you keep at it, you will get where you want to be at. The second lesson learned, then I believe it was very essential for me to be where I am right now, is believing yourself and what you can accomplish. I think a lot of us sometimes, because possibly even our background, think that maybe you don't belong where you are at. Either in a class or with other teammates, because those classmates possibly are what you think are smarter than you, or they are better than you, and basically sometimes you even feel that you're dragging everyone down because you are basically behind compared to everyone else. And the lesson learning here is that you need to believe in yourself and basically define who you are. So while you might think that you don't belong, there's a point in your life that you have to just say, all right, people around me are able to do the work that I would like to be able to do. So why are they able to do that and not me? I mean, you just have to have the attitude to say, if someone else can do it, I can do it as well. So it is up to you to define who you are. And here's another passage of my life, and I think it was the moment that I realized that that's what I needed to do. And basically, this is in Cuesta College. I was taking physics with another good friend of mine, and this particular friend of mine it is very smart. He's actually a professor, and as we were just taking classes together, he was always able to, in the physics class we were taking together, he was always to be able to take B plus, A plus, and while once in a while I would get a B, sometimes I would get a C, but it didn't seem that I was able to get more than higher than a B in some of the classes we were taking. So I asked him, and I know he said it joking. I asked him, "Hey, how do you do it? I mean, to just always be able to get about a B, a grade in every single exam." And his answer to me, as a joke, was, he told me, "Luis, don't trouble yourself. You know, it's genetic. You either have it or you don't." And I know he was joking, but as part of the joke, I actually asked him, well, let's make a bet. In the next exam, if you get a grade better than mine, I will buy you dinner. And if I get a grade better than yours, you'll buy me dinner. And he goes, that's an easy bet. Let's do it. So the next exam that we were having for the physics exam we have, and I still remember, it was an optics. We were studying optics, and that was the optics exam. So those 2-3 weeks before the exam, I studied like crazy. I got together with other people. I was just studying, trying to make sure I understood everything. And here comes the date of the exam. I'm sitting. This particular friend of mine is sitting beside me. We're looking at the exam. We're working at it and everything else. Like 10-15 minutes before the exam is over, he walks out, turns in his exam, and I'm just looking at it and I go, oh my God, I still have one more question to complete, or one more question that problem that I need to work out. And here I am with 15 minutes left before I had to turn in my exam, and he's done. So I finished the exam almost at the end of the time allowed. I turn in my exam. I walk out and I ask him, "Hey, how do you feel about the exam?" He goes, "I think I probably aced it." And he goes, "How do you feel?" I say, "Well, I think I did good, but I think I might ace it too." And he goes, "Well, great. We'll see when the professor gives the exam back." So a week after that, we were sitting down. The professor comes over, and the way the physics professor used to return the tests to each other was to actually put it upside down, because we were sitting real close to each other. So the other people wouldn't be able to see your grade. He will just turn it upside down and just give it to you. So again, this friend of mine was sitting to my right. I was sitting to the left. He used our exams. He gives his exam. He looks at like he was looking at poker cards, like some type of Texas Hold'em, and looks at me and he just smiled, and I honestly thought I'm toasted. Already, he got a better grade. So before I even look at my exam, I asked him, "What do you got?" And he goes, "I got a 98 out of 100. I say, "Oh crap! All right, maybe I have to buy dinner." And then I opened my exam and started looking at, and to my surprise, I got a 99. 1 point. That was the difference between his score and mine. But what I learned about that date was that it can be done. You just have to work hard on it, and still get a little bit sentimental about it, because it was a pivotal point in my life that I realized that it was up to me to define who I was, not 21. By the way, this particular friend of mine, we're still real good friends. We still talk, and once in a while I remind them. Anyway, the end of this part of my life was that I was so happy about it that he asked me, "Hey, anywhere you want to go, don't worry about the money. I'll pay you." He was actually very happy for me too. Then I actually proved him wrong. He goes, "Wherever you want to go, Luis, I'll pay for it." And I told him, "Hey, buy me McDonald's. I'm so happy that it could be anything you want." And he did. He bought me McDonald's, and as I said before, we're still good friends. I still talk to him. Very smart guy, very good friend of mine. We still keep in touch. So again, it's up to you to define who you are. If someone else can do it and you think they're smarter than you can do it too. Given the fact that probably this particular friend of mine took him less than maybe he didn't study as hard as I did, but it is possible to be as good as anyone else. You just got to believe in yourself. Sorry about that. Another talking point here is you are your own worst judge, and this is so true about sometimes ourselves. Basically, we judge ourselves very harsh. I should be able to do better, or my God, what people are thinking about me, and you just build this negative aura around you, and basically just judging you all the time. And my God, I just learned that it's so different. Unless someone tells you really that you're making mistakes or whatever, then you should not be judging yourself so hard. You should be able to look at life the way it is, to see where you are in life, and basically concentrate on that, and think about positive, that while other people might be better than you can actually be as better as anyone else, or even better than that. So don't be too harsh on yourself. Do not judge yourself. Look at life as a learning experience, and just keep moving on. You know your weakness and work on them. Know your strengths and master them. This is very important as well, because one thing I have learned through working through different companies, and working in anything from working as a field worker to working right now my current position in SpaceX, is that it is impossible for anyone to be good at everything. Really, it's just impossible. Some people get real close to it, but even those people are not completely good at everything. It's just impossible. So the thing that you need to know is that while you might have some weaknesses, you need to recognize what those weaknesses are, and you need to work on it, because at least you need to be on the average of that. You might not be the greatest thing. In my case, it's writing, or sometimes I even communicating. But I work my hardest to make sure that I'm able to be at a level that is acceptable. And then you have your strengths. Well, those strengths are the things that you're really good at it. So if you are good at something, then you have to master them. You have to be able to uh, be the best of what you can, with what you are good at it. An example in this case is for me, the field of mechanical engineer is large, and there's different types of thermodynamics, vibrations, control systems. I mean, it's just a gamma, a bunch of things that you can do. The things I really like, for me, was vibrations and controls, and so I got real good at it. I mean, those are the things that really I like. And there were other things that I'm actually real good at it too, like strength of materials or stress analysis. Those are basically what I'm real good at. Perhaps other things as fluid dynamics or heat transfer, I might not be as good, but I have a good understanding of what those of those particular part of the mechanical engineer field. So again, working whatever it is, just think about it. Here are some weakness in here, and here are what I'm good at it, and then master those and work in the other ones as much as you can. Be comfortable in your own skin. This is also very important, and it doesn't happen right away. Most of the times, it might take a little bit of time to get out to a point that you feel comfortable in your own skin. But the sooner you get to that, the better off you're going to be. And when I say be comfortable in your own skin, is basically is believing in yourself. That you know your weaknesses, you know your strengths, and you're able to use that to your advantage as you go through life. And you know what you are basically, what you are worth, and do that. Embrace the moment and accept the challenge. this is another one of those that I'll use one specific period of my time. So how do I got into a SpaceX? Some people might say by luck, really, or at least at the beginning I thought it was by luck, really. I was working in another company before I went to SpaceX, and this particular company had a major project, aerospace project, that they hired me for, and I worked for them for about 5 years, and it was very rewarding working in this particular project. But at the end of the 5 years, the project got canceled, basically. The people we were doing someone the engineer for decided to go a different way, and unfortunately they had to let me go. So I lost my position in this particular company, and as I was pondering what to do next, um, uh, I applied for different positions and different companies, and there was an opening in SpaceX for a structural analyst as a contractor, and truly at the beginning, I honestly I didn't think I belonged. That was one of the reasons I never applied to SpaceX, really, because I just didn't think I belonged. And it's probably just it would have been way too much of a challenge. But here is the opportunity again. I mean, not working not working not working at that point, and me trying to decide what I wanted to do. So I applied for the contracting work, and it was only 6 months. And then I applied to the other permanent jobs, and I got actually job offers for 2 of the permanent jobs. And talking to SpaceX, I had an interview, and they say, "All right, we'll hire you for 6 months. Come over and work for us." So at that point, I took a gamble again, one of those gambles in life, and you say, "All right, here's 2 companies that are not ready to hire me, and here's SpaceX, and probably it might be over in 6 months." But I took the gamble, went and worked for SpaceX, and as soon as I started working, it was very, very rewarding. I mean, um, I basically had to bring my best game to to SpaceX, because everyone was very smart, very dedicated. And here I was working with all these people that were doing just amazing teams. And so I started working as a contractor, and with an eye that perhaps at the end of my 6 months, I would be allowed to get a permanent job. And so I worked hard. I did my best. I mean, I put my best face and my best, as I say, I put out my best game, and work as hard. And at the end of 6 months, without realizing it, they came back to me and say, "Hey, listen, I think you're a perfect match for what we're looking here in SpaceX. We would like to offer you a job if you want to continue working for us after 6 months." And to me, that was like, wow, really? Okay, definitely. I mean, I didn't think I belonged here, but here I am working with you guys, and it seems like we're a good match. We have good synergy between the people I was working and the work we were doing. So that's the way I ended up really in SpaceX. So you might call it by luck, but I think it was more destiny, really. I was meant to be there, but I was holding myself back and not trying it. Another point in life is failing. Another one of those lessons in life is failing is acceptable, not learning from it is not. And I think we give a negative connotation to failing. If you think about failing, you say, "Oh my God, I fail," and that's a bad thing. And the reality is not. Life is full of lessons. I mean, that's the way you learn. You learn, and sometimes by failing, you actually learn from those failures. So if you fail, if you can come short in doing something, don't beat yourself up too much. Really, think about it as a lesson in life that is there for you to take it and learn from it, and then move on. So one of the talking points that I have for this is, first you don't succeed, you try it again. And again, I'll give you another point on my life, and this it was so truthful. So when I went from Cuesta to Cal Poly, I was going from the semester system to the trimester. And then for those of you guys are in Cal Poly and have done that, the first thing you notice is that as soon as you start class, by the time you realize it, class is over. So if you're not quick on your feet and you know, get the subject going pretty fast, learn the subject pretty fast, you fall behind pretty fast as well too. So uh, I learned that the lesson the hard way basically. My first quarter in Cal Poly, I was in academic probation basically. So which means that if the next quarter I was under a 2.0 3.0 GPA, 2.0 GPA, I will basically, that will be it. You know, that was my chance of getting a career at least at Cal Poly. And so that scared the hell out of me. Here it is, a lot of people have been opening doors for me. People in Cuesta College have worked very hard to help me to get into Cal Poly, and here I am not making the grade. So I needed to figure out a better way to do things. So that at the end of the trimester, knowing that I had one more chance and that was it, I just sat down and spoke to some of the counselors in Cal Poly, in the MEOP department, minority engineering department, at least that's what it was called when I was there. And the first thing they noticed is that I was trying to do things by myself, basically. You know, I didn't know anyone in the industrial engineering department. I didn't know anyone really at Cal Poly. And that's what put me on a disadvantage. I didn't have study buddies that I could, you know, learn from and just basically build classmates or team to study with. And so the following quarter, that was basically what I had to do. Again, I had to really, was one of those moments that I had to, you know, define myself again. And just like that fixed exam that I took, you know, about 2 years ago, 2 years prior in Cuesta College, I was back into that mode than, hey, I need to prove myself that I do belong. So I studied hard, I worked hard, and I was able to bring my GPA up enough that they would not, you know, then I wouldn't, they wouldn't let me go. Forward, moving forward 5 years after that, because by now I have actually switched into mechanical engineer, and I'm actually in the dean's list for 2-3 quarters at a time. What a difference from the beginning when I was completely failing to a point and being in the dean list for 3 consecutive quarters. I mean, again, it was just the lesson that I needed to learn at that point, and I'm glad that it happened to me because it gave me something to think about and to learn from. Those who never fail never learn anything. This is actually a motto that that a lot of us in SpaceX really, I heard. Actually, I borrowed this from some of the guys at SpaceX, and it's so true. I mean, in order to learn something, you need to fail, because if you never fail, then there's nothing to learn, right? I mean, things are perfect. Either that or you never tried, and most of the times it's because you never tried. That's why you never fail. So it's one of those models that, and you know, saying sometimes you might be scared about trying something, but you need to try it really to see what it is. And if you fail, that's okay. You know, you will learn from that, and then you will try it again. The path forward to success is full of triumphs and missed opportunities. I can give you another period of my time that this was so true. And this one is in Cal Poly. So I was in the middle of graduating with my bachelor's degree on mechanical engineer in mechanical engineer. And at the time, the company that was, you know, the company that everyone wanted to work for. In this point, SpaceX didn't even exist. It was Hewlett Packard, and a lot of my friends actually ended up going to Hewlett Packard, and of course I wanted to go to Hewlett Packard. I mean, again, it was one of those, if they can go, why not me? I should be able to do it too. So in Cal Poly, they used to allow you to interview at least 1 year before you graduated. And what I ended up doing is I tried to interview every time HP was in town to see if I could get in. And I ended up interviewing with them for three different interviews. And the first two interviews, I think they went well, but I never heard from HP. The final interview that I had with them, I spoke to the recruiter and I asked him, I have interviewed 2 times with HP and I never heard back. Is there something that I should be doing differently? And basically he leveled with me and told me that my GPA was what basically the problem. And remember, I spent 3 years as an industrial engineer with what I would call an average GPA. And then, although I was making real good progress as a mechanical engineer, when you have all those classes put together, my GPA in Cal Poly was about 2.6, 2.7. And he said, we're looking for people with a 3.0. I can see that you have done real well in your classes, but the way it works in HP is I put your resume into the system. I type in what GPA you have, and the first thing any hiring manager is going to do is they're going to type in first, we want people with 3-point GPA and above, so your resume will never come up. So that's why you had never heard from us. He goes, unfortunately, since like you're a good guy and you know your stuff, but that's basically the problem. So I went home. I felt a little bad about myself, and I say, oh, well, here it is, but that's the way it is. There's not much I can do, and I keep applying to different companies. At the end of my senior year, I ended up with 4 job offers, possibly as more job offers than any one of the people I already, the people I hang around with, and it was anything from landing gear, which was HVAC, to Applied Materials in the Bay Area, to Sony Corporation in San Diego. They were making big screen projectors in San Diego. And the company I ended up working for was the company now called PTC, which is Parametric Technology Corporation. They make Pro-E and right now Creo if you use a CAD system. And the risk, and by the way, some of these other companies offer me more money, but what PTC offered me was, again, something that I wanted to do, which was to continue learning more about finite element analysis and continue basically understanding more about vibrations and things that I was really interested on. Excuse me. So the other company that I had, I was actually in San Diego, that I was really thinking about maybe going with. And the reason in San Diego is because right from the get-go, the hiring manager actually asked me, so what do you want to do in 5 years? This is a typical question. And by the way, I don't recommend you to get the response that I'm going to tell you right now, but it's a typical question that a lot of managers ask you. But he asked me, what do you want to do in 5 years? And I had three of people who work for him, plus the human resource guy sitting in there while he was interviewing me. And I say, I want your job. And you're going to realize one of the reasons I say that is because I had already 3 job offers. So even if I blow this one up, it wasn't too bad. And he looks at me and he goes, whoa, so what would I do if you want my job in 5 years? I go, well, in 5 years, you should be like, maybe a director of the whole department, or, something better. And the guy say, yeah, you're right. And so I finished that. I started working out. I was going to fly back into San Luis Obispo. And the HR guy comes along the side and tells me, you know something, I really like your answer. You really want his job? And I say, yeah, why not? I mean, if I can move up like that. He goes, listen, we have a sister company in Tijuana. You speak Spanish. So that you can do already. It's exactly the same thing we have here in San Diego. It's just a mirror, a factory. We do exactly the same thing, but someone who speaks the language would be a big asset for us. So if you could, I'm willing to work with you. And in 5 years, really, you'll work the first 3 4 years here. So then you learn the ropes of what it needs to happen, and they will give you that position in Tijuana, and you'll be the manager of that section of the company. And I thought about it, and when they give me the job offer as far as money, it looked so good. But then here was PTC. That I thought it was more rewarding in basically giving me the right tools to continue my career and continue doing what I really like at that point, which it was again vibrations and finite element analysis. So I went with a lower offer because it seems like they will offer me more of a rewarding as in the long term than going to Sony. And at this point, again, one of those points in my life, then I needed to make a decision, and I think I made the correct decision because again, here I am working in a great company and doing amazing things. So the path to success are full of triumphs and missed opportunities. The missed opportunities was not working for HP at that point, but the triumphs is that I made the right choice as I went. This is also very important. Your success depends on others, and sometimes we think that other people around us perhaps they are helping, but we don't depend, and we're sometimes very individualistic, and we think that it's just you can do everything, and I think that's a mistake to think about that, and I'll go over that why. So the first thing is don't feel entitled. I had made this mistake in the past. You get to an point in your career that you just think, hey, I'm as good as cherry pie, and I should be rewarded for how good I am. And the time of my life then this one was true is I once I left PTC, I started working in this other company that no longer exists called Tearaway Corporation. They were trying to make optical passive optical networks, which is basically what if you have an optical line for the internet, that's exactly what they were trying to do about 20 years ago. And unfortunately, we didn't get there. But the person who hired me was still a good friend of mine, and he has been a great mentor. But basically, he doubled my pay from going from PTC to coming into work for Tearaway. I mean, it was a double, basically, almost 2x of what I was getting paid. So that by itself, just coming into work for Tearaway, I was making double that what I was making in my previous company. But I thought I deserve more, and the reason I thought I deserve more probably is because I just somehow believe that everything I had done so far was perfect, and I should just get paid more. So I told him at the end of the year, after 1 year working for this particular company, I told Mohammed, I think I should get paid more. And he looked at me and he goes, why you think you should pay more? And I say, well, I've been helping you with all these things and all that. And he goes, I think you're missing the point, Luis. And he goes, all the things you've been helping me with are things that you're learning. So then in the future, you'll be able to be a better engineer. And I didn't think about that. I just wanted more money, really. And he goes, I will give you the money, but I want you to think about it, that money comes and goes, but the experience that I'm going to give you here working with me, I think is going to be invaluable for the rest of your life. And he was right. I honestly know that he was right. So the things that actually Mohammed taught me was to be a good manager, because actually that's what I was doing in Tearaway. So I went from being very technical to be a person who actually is managing people, managing projects. And he was actually grooming me to work with him and to manage a larger team, because we thought that we were just going to keep growing in the company we were. So he was just grooming me for that, and he thought I was perfect for that. So he gave me a lot of lessons learned, which I have actually applied. Working in different companies than I have been asked to work as a manager, including SpaceX, and and including SpaceX. And what I had learned from that is that that not to feel entitled, really. I mean, sometimes you have to step back and think about where you are, and don't think that if it wasn't for you, nothing will happen. And this is what I said, depends on others. I mean, my success today depends also in all the teaching lessons that Mohammed gave me, and I still apply them. I just like a week ago, I got an email from a person that used to work for me, and she said that she was talking to another of the guys who were part of the team that I was managing, and she just mentioned that, hey, we were just reminiscing about the good old times when we had the team and how tight and what a good synergy we had. We haven't experienced that with now that we move on to other different companies. We haven't experienced that, but when we were working with you, it felt like it almost felt like it was family instead of just a job. And all those lessons I learned from Muhammad, really. I owe him that. So I felt I felt entitled at that point, but I think it was a big mistake. I shouldn't have done that. Be humble as you climb to the top. Uh, this comes back to the don't feel entitled. You'll find that as you climb to the top, people are going to start praising you. You're a good engineer. You're very smart, this and that. So don't let it go to your head. Be humble about it and say, think about that other people really have helped you to get where you are. Acknowledge those who you own your success. This is actually very important. And one thing that I haven't done a real good job myself about that. There has been a lot of people that I own what I am today and where I am today. Really, without them, SpaceX wouldn't have Luis Aguirre working for them. Just starting with my parents, really. My father made the decision that he was going to move from Mexico, leave everything he had built over there, and move over here because he thought that we will have a better chances of life. His kids will have a better chances of life. So he left all his dreams and moved the whole family to the States. My mother, although she, often reminds me that she got only a 3 grade education, and that she's very proud of me and what I have accomplished. And I know my parents have been very supportive of me all these years. Then high school, my ESL teacher, Linda, who not only was a good English as a second language teacher, but she always was very supportive, almost basically adopted me as a son, really, and taught me a lot of the lessons that allow me. The person who actually told me that I was going to work for 1/3 of my life doing what I was doing, so I better make sure that I do the things I like. That was her, really. So I was talking with her as I was planning to switch majors, and she was the one who basically gave me that advice. Then in Cuesta College, Irene Nunes was my counselor, and Irene also was one of those pivotal people that basically, through her advice, through her help, first of all, I wouldn't have got to Cal Poly. I don't think I would have gone to Cal Poly if it would have been for her, because she really helped me out to apply to Cal Poly. She helped me out so then I will do everything properly to being able to get out of Cal Poly. So without her advice and help, that's one of those that I will never be. I wouldn't have been where I'm at right now, and I really want. That's one of those people that I probably never properly thank her for her help. Then there is the person I was just talking about, Mohammed. Mohammed, my one of my managers in Third Way Corporation. you can see it right from the beginning that although I was almost like a child asking for more, he was treating me like almost like a father and say, all right, I'll give you what you want, but there's lessons learned that you need to follow. And this lessons will allow you to be a very successful engineer, and in the long run will pay more than just money alone. And again, with Mohammed is another person that I had talked in the past, and I still talking to him once in a while. But it's one of those persons that basically I acknowledge that without these people, I wouldn't be the person I am right now, and I definitely wouldn't be working in SpaceX. Remember who you learn the most from and imitate their qualities. This is also very true. As I said before, I learn all this managerial, how to manage a team from Mohammed. And every time I manage a team, I just basically imitate how Mohammed was managing the whole thing when I was there. And as you can see, people actually had come back and tag me to say that the teams that I had managed in the past, they felt very comfortable with me, the way I did, how I managed the team, how I treat everyone as a person and as an individual, and how I was always looking up for them, not just for myself, just to look good in front of everyone else. But it was either we were going to success or succeed together, or we were going to fall together. And so I try to imitate Mohammed every time I ended up being a manager. And so try to do the same thing as you learn from people in your career. It's better to recognize you don't know everything than to pretend you do. And again, this goes back to you feeling entitled and you think you know everything, and without you nothing will work. But the reality that gets you more in trouble if you think that you know everything, because eventually it's going to catch up with you. Eventually there's going to be things that you're going to need other people, their help, and they basically going to go, well, gee, I thought you were the one who knew everything, so I'm not sure why you want any help from us. So it's better to recognize that there's some things that you don't know and ask for help, or even get your team involved and basically ask them to help you out, than to pretend you do just because you think that. And or when it becomes to a manager, really. And I see this sometimes this issue with that. So be a force multiplier and provide opportunities to others, and others will do the same to you. And this again is one of those things that just like today, I'm providing you all these lessons learned, and hopefully there's probably about 26, 30 people in the event listening to me. If I can get one of you guys to get something out of this, then probably I accomplished what I was set to do today, to pass this lessons learned to you. If I get two of you, then I did more than what I'm paying back more than what I got, really. So I got all these lessons learned from other people, and now you can use that. If I can get all 26 of you to actually use something from what you learn from me today, then that's the force multiplier. Because 10 years, 20 years, when you are in the same position than I am, and you are ready to give back to what's given it to you, then you can become a force multiplier. You can inspire 10, 20, 30, 40 people. And the more we do this, the more I think we will be able to accomplish great things. Be inclusive with others. You can learn from folks of all walks of life. The way I see this is that if I can give you an analogy. If you had two grains of sand and I put them in front of you and I say, can you see the difference between those two grains of sand? And you say, well, no, it's just two grains of sand. They look to me the same. And then I use those 2 grains of sand and I mix them with a bunch of other grains of sand, and then I built a sandcastle. And I ask you the question again: can you find the 2 grains of sand that I show you in the beginning? And then you said that it was no difference. And then you look at the sandcastle, you say, wow, well, there's probably millions of grains of sand in there. So no, I can see where those 2 grains of sand went. Well, this is the way society really works, really. I mean, no matter what you do in life, society is like a sandcastle. Every one of us is 1 grain of sand that basically gives shape and support to the structure of the castle. So while you don't really know what grain of sand is one, all of them together are what builds the castle and provides that shape. So the people or the grains run on the top and the grains down on the bottom are equally important. So the way you need to look at this is that no matter what other people do, I started as a field worker and now I'm working on rocket engines. You own your success to everyone else that could have been all the way to the bottom to the top. Some of those people may not have got the chance to get what you are, like in my case, my parents. But the reality is that support group that you have, those grains of sand support a bunch of other grains of sand besides them, and then those grains of sand support other grains of sand and builds up the whole castle. So when you are talking to someone that might not necessarily be an engineer, think about that. I mean, one of my other good friends is the janitor that used to clean the offices in PTC when I got my first job. We still talk to him, and he lives now in Mexico. But that's just to show you, that no matter who it is, the people that you're around are the people who really build who you are. Success takes time. Don't rush life, focus and be patient. Again, if you think about me, it took me basically about 20 to 30 years to be where I am right now. But in the way, I learned a lot and I have a lot of fun, really. I mean, I think my career has been amazing. It has ups and downs, but overall, it's just been rewarding altogether. So it has been taking some time. I could have done things differently, as I said before, missed opportunities. But overall, I think it's been great. Maybe I should have been successful 10 years ago instead of what I am right now. But it is okay. I'm happy with what I have accomplished so far. Be flexible. You may not always get what you want, but you will learn what you need. And again, you might end up working in something that you don't like for some time. Perhaps even if you choose the right career and everything else, sometimes you will be required to do some of the things that might not be exciting for you. So you may not want what you want, but you will learn something out of that experience. Just treat everything as a learning experience, something you can use later on as you shape up your career. And the final talking point. Great leaders and geniuses are not born; they are shaped in they are shaped by their life experiences. So recently, I was watching in National Geographic a documentary about Einstein, and the nerd that I am, Einstein is one of my heroes, if you want to think about it. But this particular documentary did not necessarily focus on the accomplishments that he had, but it focused on the life, the person of who he was. And if you have a chance to look at it, I will advise you to go through it, and you will see that all the lessons that I just provided for you, you will see it just playing in Einstein's life. Now, I'm not saying that just because you follow this, you're gonna become an Einstein or myself, for that matter. But you can actually see that the experiences that he had through life is what shaped the person he was. and the discoveries he did. And that's one. They have also another documentary about Pablo Picasso, and you can see the same thing. And you can again see all this team playing back and forth. And so I will ask you to look at that anytime that you're looking at someone who's successful. Don't look up just at the success, look at their life. And you can see that a lot of these lessons learned, even if they didn't think about it, that's exactly what they were. So I promise you to tell you what's the difference, what a cherry tomato and a rocket engine have in common. Well, my first job where I got my first paycheck was picking cherry tomatoes in Zapata Farm and in San Luis Obispo. And so I had gone from picking up tomatoes to building rocket engines. Who will say, I mean, who will think that, that could be possible? And it is. With that, I would like to open it up for any questions you might have. I want to thank you for your time. Hopefully, as I said, you will get, these lessons learned will help you out in your education, in your career, and in your life overall. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Luis. We really appreciate you taking the time to put together that presentation and to spend this time with us tonight. I know you have a very busy job, so thank you. So I had a few questions come in. Ali, I don't know if you had any as well, but I can start with one. This is from Tyler. He actually had a couple questions, so hold on, let me find it again. He's asking about your GPA. So
yes. So as I said before, I'm not necessarily ashamed of my GPA. I had never been. In Cuesta College, it was about 2.6. In Cal Poly, I think it was 2.7 by the time I graduated. So you can see that my GPA wasn't the greatest, but basically my GPA, which at the beginning is a way for companies to see your potential, it not necessarily defines your potential really. I mean, if you have a low GPA, this is one of those things that again you need to think about it. What is that I'm doing wrong? That I'm getting a low GPA when other people are getting 3.0s or even 4.0s. There's nothing different. The analogy I gave you about the 2 grains of sand is exactly the same thing. I mean, sometimes you need to just stop and think about it, reflect on why things are not going your way, and then make changes in your life or the way you're doing things. And that's what you need to do if you have a low GPA. And even if you ended up with a low GPA at the end of the day, hey, don't feel that that's what's going to define you for the rest of your career. Really, I mean, there's plenty potential for you to reach. So there's one more comment that I want you guys to know is that everyone has the potential to really do amazing things. So GPAs are not necessarily what defines you.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, and he has another question. He wanted to know if you had any tips about networking. And he also asks, what if you like a branch of engineering but don't know specifically what you want to do? So networking, and how do you figure out what you actually want to do within a certain part of engineering?
Yeah, so networking is, as I said before, your success depends on others. So networking is very essential. You should network with people who have, I would say, almost the same set of mind. In other words, same type of goals that you might have. And this goals doesn't have to be like, educational or things like that, but this time you have the same goals. And there's plenty of different societies that you can join, but always have in mind that whatever networking you're doing, the end goal is to support those people in your network and for those people to help you out as well. So that will be my advice. Most of the network that I have really are people who I met in Cuesta College, in Cal Poly. I mean, those are the people that I keep, still in touch, and that's basically my primary network. Of course, there's other people. Now, as far as what do I choose from, uh, what within like a mechanical engineer, what classes or what type of um, you know, not classes, but branch of engineering I choose within mechanical engineer. I think what it has to do with is what you like. Remember what I was just saying at the point that you work on the strengths. So if you're good in one part of engineering that you're interested on, that's probably your strength. By the way, initially I thought my strength was thermodynamics. Really, I was getting good grades and everything else. But then once I start taking vibrations and all that, I said, "Whoa, this is even much better than thermodynamics." I think I'll stick with vibrations instead of thermodynamics. So it's up to you, and really anything you learn, really, at the end of the day, some of the work that I'm doing at SpaceX, I'm borrowing from everywhere: statistics, controls, vibrations, strength analysis, fatigue analysis. But by now I have built up enough knowledge that I can borrow for everything. And the things I'm not too good at it, like thermodynamics, I still, I understand it, but not to be good. Then I go to the people who really knows how to do this type of work, instead of for me just trying to break my head trying to figure it out.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Allie, did you get sent any questions?
No.
Does anyone else have any other questions?
Yeah, I actually have some questions. So, say if I specifically like I really like SpaceX and I would like to work there someday. Do you have any tips on networking specifically with regards to SpaceX?
Yeah, so overall, I'm not sure. Are you at Cuesta? Are you at Cal Poly? Where are you at?
I'm Cal Poly.
Okay, great. I think the best thing you can really do is try to apply for a summer job or a co-op in SpaceX. I think that's the best way that you can try the company and the company can try you. So that's what I will recommend for you to do. And remember, when I was telling you that the company I really wanted to work the most was HP when I graduated, and I never really got to work on HP. So, well, if you really want to work in the space, do your best. Apply for a summer internship or a co-op, and that I would say is the best way to go, really, to get into SpaceX and just to try it out. So anytime SpaceX is in town, or if you know that the space is going to be in a certain university, perhaps not in Cal Poly, then if I really wanted to do it, I probably will even travel to a different university and say, "Hey, listen, I'm from Cal Poly, but you guys haven't been there, so here I am. I'm trying to get the internship and go from there."
For sure. Okay. Yeah, I think that was it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? I have one.
Go ahead.
I'm really interested to know when you were discouraged or you found things like you ran up against something that was really difficult for you, like what did you do to cope and to sort of push through to overcome those things that were difficult for you? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think that's the part where I say that believing in yourself is probably the best thing you can do. So the times that I had been down and I find either work or even life difficult, I always rely back and saying, "Hey, it's just another point in my life, then I need to figure out what I need to do." Every problem has a solution, and honestly, that's the way I put it. Every problem has a solution. I just need to figure out what I need to do to move from the low point in life that I'm at, really. And the other thing I used a lot as I was going through my career was that the point that I said that you need to feel comfortable in your own skin is basically saying, "Hey, I have done as good as I can. I've done the best as I could, and it's almost like an athlete. I give it all, my all, and here I am where I am, and not going to work for HP. That was a low point for me, but didn't stop me to continue my journey. So anytime you find yourself with that you're feeling at a low point, just reflect on where you are and how you got there, and then pick up yourself and again try again. Just keep going.
Thank you, Luis. Oh yeah, go ahead, Juan.
So can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, okay. So as far as in your professional career, what's one of what's one of your toughest challenges in your professional career? Yeah,
I
I
can
know
tell
there's
you.
many, but you could just like
Yeah.
name one. Yeah.
Yeah, I can tell you that, and you know, the reasons I didn't apply at SpaceX initially because I knew it was going to be tough, and I didn't even, and I think it was more the rejection part of it, like an HP. I'm going to apply it and they're just going to say no, and that was probably the worst thing. You know, I just was thinking of that. So once I got into HP, while in other companies I was treated like, you know, this guy's pretty smart. Once I got into HP, I mean HP, I'm sorry, SpaceX. I'm still dreaming about HP. SpaceX, I was humble, really humble with the quality of the people I was working with. But that was okay because then I started realizing that now I had to bring my best game to the court, really. And it wasn't easy, really. I mean, I really had to. We were working, and at that point, I was supporting the group that was working in landing the rocket back in what we call it a hopper, landing the rocket back, and it was challenging. I mean, it was a challenging. It took a lot of people really to figure that out, and I was part of that people that we were working on it. At least in my side, what we were working on, or how to make sure that the engines will not separate as we were moving what we call it the hopper, moving it from back and forth. So that was a challenge. It's still a challenge, really, even nowadays. I mean, I'm pushing myself to so very problems that people have not looked at it, because that's what we're trying to do at SpaceX. We're basically trying to do something so different of what has been done in the past that requires a new way of thinking. And so I'm constantly shifting and thinking about how am I going to do this, how am I going to do that, and working with, as I said before, with very talented colleagues that I use really to their ideas and everything else to support the ideas that I'm actually working on it. So the biggest challenge of my life is doing a SpaceX.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Looks like we have a question from Alondra. She said, how did you manage your time with work and school?
Good question. It's always hard to get that balance, and overall, it's even harder when I guess you're struggling. So my first 3 years as an industrial engineer, I just couldn't even find time. It was just, I just needed to concentrate in school as much as I could. I was living at home with my parents, so I wasn't really spending much money on anything but eating probably at Cal Poly. But once I switched to mechanical engineer, and again, while they were not easy, they became more manageable, and I had more time to do other things. So the way you manage that is by prioritizing what's important for you. While making money might be important, getting the grade was important to me as well too. So I was probably just working part-time. Or when I was telling you that I was as a dishwasher or cook or pre-cook, those were like weekend type of things that I used to do when I was going to college. It wasn't like a half-time working. And some of you guys might be in that position. And honestly, I commend you for trying so hard and getting on the equation, and still at the same time working a half-time or full-time job is pretty hard, really. Even when I was actually working as a professional, I never went back to get my master's at the same time as I was working. It was one of those things that this other company, Terrawave, basically ended up not working, and I was out of the job, and at that point, another friend of mine asked me, "Hey, you know something?" By the way, he was working for HP. He goes, "I'm going back to Cal Poly to get a master's. What are you doing?" I go, "Ah, guess what? I'm going back to Cal Poly to get a master too." Honestly, that's the way the conversation went. So again, working and in a school is juggling those two things. I think is commendable for any one of you who is doing that. And but at the end of the day, you have to also think about that. Um, um, if a school probably has to be your priority if you can, and working on the side, you should try to do at a minimum.
I think that's when I come in. Thank you, Alondra. But I mean, there's financial aid. It is not too late to apply for it. And one of the things that sometimes students do not know is that when you do your FAFSA or the DREAM application, they're always asking for like 2 years prior of income information. But if the income change, and for all of you guys in here, the students, last year, it was really very interesting to say year for all of us, but for you guys, but if you are, you had to stop working, your parents, if you're still a dependent and everything, there is what we call income appeal or special circumstance. And this is at Poly, this is at Cuesta, this is at Hancock, this is anywhere you go. Please make sure to go to the financial aid office and see how they can help you. We are really there to try to help all of you guys, because really what we're trying to do is have more people like Luis here, success stories that that you guys are gonna continue with your school and everything. So any questions or anything, any financial aid office, what we will do is try to get you as much money as we can, so you're not having to work as much. Okay?
Yeah, and the other thing I want to make a comment about that, thank you, Ali, is that while I was going into my bachelor's at Cal Poly, I actually took off student loans for the same reason, because I didn't want to work and I wanted to concentrate in school and start working. And as I said, once things became more manageable, then my student loans went down, and I was doing a little more working. But by this point, I was managing school and work life much better than at the beginning. At the beginning, really, my recommendation to you is, if you don't have the means, is just go for a student loan. Yes, I know that a lot of us said, hey, no, I don't want any student loans, but the reality is that it will help you at least to get to a point in which you feel comfortable where you at, and networking and everything else, and then you can start working if you want to. Right? So that's very important. So thank you for that.
Yeah, no, and I mean, it's very well known, once you do transfer to a 4-year school, at some point in there, you will have to get loans. But I mean, there's other stuff in there that you guys can try to get, scholarships, there's federal work study, there's so many other stuff. And again, it's just you guys just go for it and make that call, okay? I can put my information in here, do a little bit of advertising, but seriously, you guys, if you need any help with your financial aid, or trying to see, if you qualified, and even for those in high school, also once the time comes that you're transferring, you're going to either a 4-year or a community college, it's your financial aid and doing everything on time, okay?
Any other questions from the audience?
Okay.
Great. So one final comment then I would like to leave you with is the moon, the stars, there's really no limit of what you can do. And this has been true for myself. You just have to be able to believe in yourself and to keep pushing through your journey, getting an education, and working as a professional. Sí se puede, really, and you can do it. I was able to do it even with all, low GPA and other challenges that I had in life. But it is possible. You just have to push through and believe in yourself. And I want to thank you all for spending this time with me, discussing the life lessons that I had. And I'm hoping that you guys will also be a force multiplier in a few years and remember today and pass those lessons that I passed to you and anything else you learn in your way to others, so that they can also succeed in their career. So thank you very much.
Right. Thank you, Luis. Once again, we really appreciate your time. And thank you everyone who came. Be sure to sign up to get some merchandise or to be entered into the raffle. I put that in the chat. So thank you everyone for being here tonight.